We're here today on Beyond the Estimates, talking about AI and my business in the future of the small service industry. Everybody's talking about AI right now. It's everywhere. Chat GPT, robots, automation. It's getting smarter every single day. And yes, it's going to knock out a whole lot of jobs, no doubt about it. Office work, paperwork, customer service, estimates. A lot of those jobs are already halfway gone, if not all the way gone out of big companies. Here's the thing. AI still can't crawl under a crawl space, fix a plumbing leak. It can't take a door down, shave it so that it opens and closes correctly. It can't adjust a latch so that the door catches, at least not yet. I know we had a conversation about that recently on a video, but it's not there yet. And the safest bet you can make right now for your future, in my opinion, is to get into the service industry business. Jeffrey Hinton, one of the guys who's called the godfather of AI, was recently asked in an interview what he would tell his children if they were young enough for him to talk to them about what profession they should get into and what they should look at doing to make sure they have a job in the future. And he literally responded to them and said, become a plumber. Because the robotics is pretty far behind the intelligence and the ability for robots to really take over those types of jobs. That's why I think personally starting a handyman business or a service industry business is one of the smartest moves you can make. People don't want to do stuff or fix things themselves. They don't want to fix a toilet. They don't want to patch drywall. They don't want to paint bedrooms. People just generally don't want to do that. How motivated do you think they'll be once they're getting the check every month just to stay at home?
Now you mentioned the check thing. What do you mean?
Well, my personal opinion is that we're headed towards universal basic income, UBI, which is going to be where someone's going to get a set amount of money, or not someone, everyone is going to get a set amount of money every month just for being alive. If you're married and have kids, you're probably going to get extra money for each kid. Your spouse is going to get money, you're going to get money, and people are going to have that baseline income to live off of.
Where's that money going to come from?
Nobody knows right now.
I mean, we have a theory.
Yes, I do have a theory on it. I believe that there's going to be some type of tax or an intelligence tax, or you're going to call it a payroll tax, basically, because I believe as these companies cancel these jobs and replace them with robots or with AI, the government's going to come in and say, okay, look, every AI bot you have working for you, every robot you have manufacturing for you, we need X number of percentage from the money that those bots and robots generate for you, and we're going to call that the UBI robot tax. Mm-hmm. And that money's going to go into a pool, and it's going to go out and be distributed to the people that aren't working anymore.
Yeah, so because basically AI is going to eliminate a bunch of jobs, so those people aren't going to be able to work because of AI, right. But they still have to pay to live.
Yes, everybody's still going to have to pay to live.
So the companies are going to get taxed on AI and what they're doing with AI so that all those people that lost their jobs can still live.
That's exactly right. So basically, the income tax that the government's going to lose from employees not being employed is going to be replaced by a robot tax to large corporations and companies.
Right.
And small companies alike. I mean, basically any company that has robots or automation. And obviously we already know that that's been taking place and has been taking place for a long time. You can look at the car manufacturing industry, right, as an example, and they've been using robots for 50 years already. This tax hasn't come along for them yet, but it's going to come when 90% of jobs are virtually eliminated over the next decade or so, or faster. Even you just don't know. And at first, universal basic income sounds great. I'm sure everybody would love to have free money, but there's no such thing as free money, and everybody knows that. People that are motivated and want to get out there and hustle are still going to get out there and hustle, and they're still going to do more and be more. People that aren't motivated, or lazy people, or people that just don't know what to do, are going to sit back, relax, and live off of whatever money the government gives them. We already have a large group of our population here in America that lives off of that now, whether it be welfare, SNAP, HUD housing, whatever it is. Government assistance already helps a large population of our country, and it's just going to get more and more and more and more. And there's really no way to fight against it at this time. The genie's out of the bottle. There's no putting it back in. AI's coming. Robots are coming. And they are going to replace 90% of jobs. The wild part, though, is to think about the fact that some people are going to do what they're supposed to do. But there's a guy named Adam Sosniak. He has a podcast called Sozcast, and he's also on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. And he did this man in the street interviews during COVID where people were getting these $800, $1,400, up to $6,000 checks for their kids. Sorry. And I remember one of the interviews he did specifically was a woman who had 4 children, and she was in Miami because Florida was open during COVID when everything else was closed, and she was from New Jersey. And he asked her how much did she get, and she got $5,400 between her children, herself, and whatever other she got. And he said, "So what are you doing in Miami?" And she said, "Spending $5,400. Not putting it in savings, not using it to better herself, not doing anything for her kids or her family. She was spending the $5,400 in Miami that week, partying and vacationing." Not a majority probably, but most people are going to feel that way. They're going to take that money, they're going to play video games, they're going to cruise through life without trying to get ahead. But the small group of people that want to get ahead, just like there is now, entrepreneurs, people that own small businesses, me, your wife, you, those people are still going to find a way to get ahead of UBI. There's just no way around it. You can call it laziness, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but the people that want to get ahead and hustle are still going to do it.
Sure. So, obviously, your business is construction.
Yes.
And we're talking about AI, we're talking about UBI, but, and I may be putting the cart before the horse, how do you think AI is going to affect your industry?
Well, AI has already affected my industry. My company itself, we've already eliminated a position of an estimator that is just not needed anymore because we can just prompt AI with the specifics, even photos and documentation from jobs, and AI can generate it's not perfect yet, but they can give us an estimate that I can tweak in 5 minutes, where it would have taken someone an hour and a half, 2 hours of doing research and pricing and all those things to complete that estimate. I can do them now as fast as I can type prompts into ChatGPT-5. I can get estimates done.
So just to be clear, it didn't eliminate the need for someone to go on site and get the estimates, but actually coming back and typing up the estimates, that's where
Right.
AI has benefited you.
Right, definitely. Also yes, and the way that that's going to be affected to most people is exactly like that. It's just going to speed up. At first, it's just going to speed up the paperwork side of everything dramatically, and it already has. Like, we're hiring right now for an office manager, and I got someone that emailed me. I just copied and pasted her email into ChatGPT and said, "Write a good response to this for me." I copied and pasted ChatGPT's response and put it back into her email and responded to her. And now we have a meeting set up between the two of us. It was that fast, that simple, that easy. I was in a hurry. Normally I would like to put my own touch on it, but there's lots of people out there doing that for everything that they're doing.
Yeah. So a lot of the administrative overhead you don't have to do.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's the time part. Estimates are never going to, the way our company does estimates and the way that this channel is going to teach people to do estimates the way that we do it with the photos on the job, the material lists for the job, you're still going to have to go and see it. A person still needs to go and see that this picture up here needs to be taken down. There's going to be holes in that wall. Is this a custom color that can be matched or can't be matched? Or do you have to repaint the whole room? ChatGPT can't do that yet.
Yeah.
So yes, someone has to go and know that and know what to prompt ChatGPT, but it's just going to get better. We're only a couple of years into AI, and it's already to a point where it's unbelievable what you can do with it and what you can't do with it. And I don't think that owning a handyman business or a service-based business just protects you from job loss. It gives you freedom, and it's going to give you a leg up moving forward. There's a lot of other businesses where it leads into things. Like for me personally, owning my business has led into owning rental properties, making connections with other business people that are like-minded and also going to be trying to do better than the minimum. And that's what we're going to be geared towards talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that AI is going to eliminate lots of jobs, which not great, like real estate agents. There'll probably still be brokers, maybe, but transactionally speaking, I'm confident that ChatGPT can write a better real estate contract than any real estate agent can, because they have all of the data across all of the internet from every contract that they can get their eyes on to scrape the data and know exactly what needs to be written. The need for continuing education for most clerical type jobs is going to go away, because you're going to know ChatGPT or Grok or Perplexity or whichever one you want to use. I say ChatGPT all the time because it's the one that I use, but they're going to know your locality. Like you can put in there, I can put in there right now, we're going to turn this warehouse into a meeting room or a conference room. How many outlets do I need on each wall? What needs to be in the floor?
Right.
What does the ceiling height need to be? What type of insulation? And ChatGPT can tell me that already. So any of those types of jobs, that's the way it's going to be.
So we already established that in the modern workspace, AI is going to take away a lot of jobs.
Right.
Do you think in the construction industry that AI is going to open up opportunities for new jobs?
So I'm not smart enough to answer that question. I would say that, forever, the printing press was the end of scribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The automobile was the end of farrier work. I mean, not the end, but, there was blacksmiths and farriers in every little town, multiple. Now there's two that I know about in our area total. And everybody along the way thought all of these inventions were the end and were going to ruin mankind. And I'm sure this is going to be the exact same. That will definitely on the other side create new jobs, which will probably be arts based, to be honest with you. It'll probably take people and human beings on an arc of, instead of being industrialized and trying to build and grow, it'll probably take people more into the arts. They'll probably be more like, it's almost going to be going backwards. You're going to go backwards. There's going to be boutique handmade chair salespeople. There's going to be boutique clothing. People are going to get into sewing and, literally turning wool into blankets again, because they're going to have the time because of AI. So it's going to be good in that way, but those people are still probably only going to be the select few that want to do more and do better. There's a lot of people that are going to be straight matrix. Put me in a chamber, plug me into the internet, and wake me up when it's time to eat.
Yeah.
Those people are going to be out there.
So our theory here is AI is not going to take away service-based businesses for the foreseeable future. We're still gonna need handymen, plumbers, tradesmen. Right. If and we're also talking about, I think, to get ahead of the curve, now is the time, if you've been tossing the idea around, to start your own service-based business. Right. With that being said, if people are out there and they're starting to get their UBI checks,
it's probably too late.
Well,
if the checks are coming, you're behind the ball.
But do you think it's going to make trying to find qualified and dedicated employees harder?
It's already impossible. The only thing I will say is that in this industry, in the trades industries, handyman, plumbers, HVAC technicians, the people that you get now are not, generally speaking, college educated, white collar type of people. you get people that learned through experience working with their hands. They grew up, they knew they weren't going to go to college. Someone like me that barely graduated from high school, didn't really, got my GED from Burger King Academy. And which is not really what it's called. It's called Chesterfield Community High School, but everybody called it Burger King Academy because if you graduated from there, Burger King was the only place you could work. So, but I always did construction, as you know, because we did it together. But I do think that it's going to create a vacuum that, I hate to say smarter or more intelligent, higher IQ people are going to backfill those positions because they know that there's a possibility there to do more and to get ahead. So in some ways, it's probably going to make it harder, but in other ways, it could make it better. There could be more intelligent people that are easier to train and get to do these jobs than what the current talent pool is out there. And that's not to disparage any tradesmen, because I know tradesmen that are geniuses that would be rocket scientists if they would have went to college, but they're not. They're painters because they like painting, they grew up painting, and they're happy doing what they do.
Right.
So I think both ways, it'll make it harder and it'll make it easier in some ways.
So with everybody losing their jobs and assuming that there's a pool of people out there that don't just want to accept their UBI check and be comfortable with that, lifestyle, they're going to start opening their own businesses. Is there a possibility that the market is going to get crowded with everybody trying to start their own business, and it's going to be harder for people, to be in competition and get work and make a living?
All right. So this is why we're talking about this. Yes, 100%. That's exactly what is going to happen. That's why I'm saying now, before the UBI checks are coming and before all these people figure out that they need to backfill into this type of job, you should be doing it now. And doing it now means building your business, building your base, getting your customers that are your customers. I've had customers that I've had for 13, 15 years, and I don't care what other businesses start, they're going to continue to do business with me because of our relationship.
Right.
So getting the point where you have the relationships that you need to be able to continue your business, that's why I'm saying now. Yesterday was the best time to do it, but the second best time is right now. Tomorrow is going to be too late because of that.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I searched the internet before we decided to make this conversation happen, and I really couldn't find anybody talking about it at length about what AI and robotics was going to do to this service-based business. But there's lots of people that say that it's going to be safe for a while, but nobody really dives into it, why, how, and talking about it. I think it's just going to give you the ability to do what you need to do for yourself and for your family and for those around you to be able to get ahead and do better. The one thing that I have written down, I know that I haven't really been reading it a whole lot about what we wrote down, but there's more to it than just this. Like, this is going to lead you into the opportunity. So if you think about universal basic income, people are always going to need a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to need things fixed in the place that they live, either because they're lazy and don't want to fix it, they don't know how to fix it, or they're too busy to fix it. Now, too busy is probably not going to be most people's problems unless they include playing Halo 37 as being too busy to change a light bulb, which is probably going to happen. But this gives you the opportunity to capitalize on that. And then even more in depth, and we'll talk about this in other videos, I'm sure, but being around property managers specifically, doing my business the way that I do it, you get to meet landlords and you get to talk to them when they're at their worst. And you have the opportunity to become a landlord, which is also going to be because people are always going to need a place to live. And the competition for UBI as far as home prices and stagnation is probably going to be, it's unpredictable at best.
Sure.
But it's probably going to kill the housing market. There's going to be an extreme high-end housing market, and then there's going to be a flat bottom-end housing market. Because if everybody makes the same amount of money from UBI, you can't afford an $800,000 house, and I can only afford a $200,000 house if we're both making the same UBI money.
Right.
But rent is going to be probably the best way to go for that for most people, because it's going to be able to keep their costs down, and it's going to eliminate maintenance costs, because you own a bunch of houses too. It's always something. I mean, it is always something. And if you're renting and you're living off of UBI, if your rent is $1,650 a month, that's your rent. If the hot water heater goes out, that's somebody else's problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're still paying $1,650 a month rent.
Yep. So you kind of touched on something that I was going to ask about, and I think we've already answered this question, but I'll just throw it out there. We're hypothesizing about UBI and the fact that we think that it's coming and how it's going to act. So obviously the U in UBI stands for universal, which is synonymous with across the board. Do you think there's ever going to be a world where there's going to be different tiers of money in the UBI pool for people based on their skills, their education, their experience? Or do you think that a kid coming out of high school that's got their first job working, wherever, is going to make the same as a neurosurgeon that just lost their job to a robot?
Well, I don't think kids coming out of high school are going to have jobs, for one.
Well, for the sake of this conversation.
But I think that each person is just going to be a number.
So it's going to be flat across the board.
Flat across the board.
Okay.
I think Jeff Bezos will get the same check that you'll get.
All right.
No, there's no telling about that, really. I would, if common sense existed in government, but it doesn't, then people that make over a certain threshold and own businesses that earn over a certain threshold would be excluded from this. But they're not going to, because once you start down that line, the question is, where do you stop it? So I feel like everybody's just going to get it. And it might not be called universal basic income. It could be called whatever. But there's going to have to be something, because jobs are going to be eliminated.
Right.
Just, across the board.
So you've kind of answered some of my questions that I had written down already.
Okay.
In the world of the trades, or handyman, construction, service-based business, whatever we want to call it, looking into the future, what do you think is one skill that every tradesman should double down on so that they can continue to be relevant in an AI-driven economy?
Well, the service-based industry sector lags behind every other sector in technology. The majority of people that own a small construction company, whatever type that it is, still use whiteboards and right. So do I. So it is what it is.
Right.
But they still use whiteboards. They don't really use proper CRMs. They don't. So the best thing they can do is learn how to integrate AI into the business. That's what I would double down on. That's what I am going to double down on as a business owner of a small service-based business, medium, whatever you want to call it. Integration with AI is going to be the most important thing, so that you can be competitive, because we can get into all of it later, but in the business, speed and clarity are more important than the work that you do. So if you can get a realtor an estimate and get the work done before their deadline, even if you cost a little bit more or you've never worked with them before, you're more valuable than someone that can't get them what they need in the time of their deadline. Mm-hmm. And AI exponentially helps with the speed of everything. And it needs to be integrated. So that's what I would say. First off, learn a trade or multiple trades. Second off, integrate AI into that trade.
Okay. So for somebody that hasn't really been in the service industry and they're watching this and they're like, this guy's making a lot of sense. And, you know, I work in accounting and they're going to have something that's going to replace my job in 5 years. What's the first step?
The first step would be go home and talk to your spouse, or have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and figure out what you want to do if you're going to be content.
Well, I mean, let's assume that conversation's already been had and they've already made that decision. They're not going to be content. And they say, okay, I want to take your advice. I saw this really cool YouTube channel. I watched this guy talk about AI and UBI, and it made a lot of sense. And I want to start a service-based business. Step one.
Step one, follow along, and I'll show you how to do it.
So what you're telling me is the future of this channel is going to be about teaching people how to create and grow a service-based business.
That's exactly what this channel is going to be for. This channel is for someone who's handy and wants to turn that into a business, someone that's already has a business that they call it that, but really they just have a job that they own, and wants to turn it into a real business. But to answer your question about the accountant, the best thing they could do is figure out something that they're decent at. If they're a good welder, if they're good at understanding plumbing dynamics or liquid dynamics for plumbing, fluid dynamics, if they're sharp with electrical, whatever they think that they can do, or start around your own home and start doing things yourself and just kind of figuring it out and seeing what you like and what you don't like and what you want to do and what you don't want to do. The trades that are more technical, plumbing, electrical, probably just plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and then general handyman work like diagnose and repair are going to be the ones that are going to take the longest to be replaced. I got a feeling, I mean, there's already a robot that does roofing called Rufus the Robot, which is pretty wild to watch. There's already a robot that does custodial work. There's already a robot that does painting. Those trades are going to be a lot easier because they're kind of cut and dry, step-by-step processes. The jobs where it's troubleshooting, breaking down, and repairing, those are the ones where you really would want to focus to know that you're going to have a future in the business.
So if you got a small business owner that's out there who's worried about the future, what's the one message that you would give them?
First off, every small business owner is worried about the future.
Touche.
Second off, I would say the future is whatever you're going to make it. And it's up to each individual person to go out there and either do more or not. And if you're a do more type of a person, then let's do it together and let's figure it out and find like-minded people that want to do more and figure it out. And if you're not, and you just can't wait for UBI and you can't wait to sit back and do nothing, find another YouTube channel to watch.
If someone only wants to take away one thing from this talk, what's the most important thing that you've said?
There's no getting away from it. AI and robotics and quantum computing are coming. They're here. And you can either accept that and learn to adapt to it and use it, or you can be just another sheep in the flock. That's the two options you got.
All right. Closing thoughts? Any other things you want to touch on?
Nope, that's it.
Tune in next time.